Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight we'll be doing another class in our series of classes on Scorpio ascendant and Mars and the different signs. Tonight we'll be doing Mars in Aries, where it's in honor. Right? Again, it's a little bit mixed. From one side, it's in honor, but on the other side, it's situated for the most usually in the sixth house, which again is not considered a favorable house. It's a house that indicate it's the house of ill health, it's the house of servitude, and things like that. So on the one hand, being in honor is very fortunate. On the other hand, being in the sixth house can have it's working. In other words, Mars is working for sixth house affairs. Right? You always have to remember everything can work two ways. The person could be a servant, or he could have problems with his servants. I know I have a wife. She has Mars in the sixth house, and I can't bring anybody to clean the house. Every time anybody who comes, she has a bad Mars too. She has Mars exactly opposite her Jupiter in the 12th house. And so the Mars is sort of harmed, and I think the Mars has another planet squaring it, if I remember. In any case, so she can't bring anybody to do any work because she gets into fights with them right away. And so again, everything has to be taken. They can work both ways. But in any case, in the general standard, you don't. It's not great having the ruling planet in the sixth. What did the rabbis say? The Mabeya Vadim, Mabeya Kishuf, different like that. You have a lot of, servant girls and, servants. You can have all sorts of problems, relationship problems, and you can have magic. They worried about, all the servants are going to bring in their magic and all things like that. And so, let's not get into that right now, but in any case, so I just want to show you that there's another side to the sixth house. When you have Mars when you have a planet in a house, it works for that house. In other words, Mars, maybe I should spend a minute or two on this. The Mars, its essential nature is, it's a fighter. It goes for what it wants. It's egotistical. It doesn't care about other people. But it can be, but it has a lot of drive and ambition and all that, but it works for the house that it's in. So if it's in the sixth house, it's going to work for the sixth house affairs. Say a person's got Mars and Aries in the sixth house with Scorpio ascendant. I've seen doctors with that, surgeons, right? It's actually the sign of a surgeon. I have a friend. I learned Torah with him together. We would study the Gemara together, the two of us. And he was a Scorpio with Mars and Aries, and he was a mohel. He was he performed circumcisions. Right? He never made it to be a doctor, but he was a mohel, and he had a nice little career there. And he was that's another idea that you see Mars in Aries, because it's in honor, it's going to bring you success. You like to have your ruling planet in honor, and it gives you tremendous drive. When you have Mars in Aries, it gives a person a tremendous amount of drive, and they're looking out for number one, they're looking out for themselves, and they know what they want, and they don't care about other people. No, nobody's going to stand in their way. That's Mars in Aries. And so it's a nice combination for the person to have Mars and Aries. So let's look at somebody who's got a chart with Mars and Aries, and we'll look at a man tonight. I don't know almost nothing about him, but I found him. We're looking for different charts, and because he's a famous performer. And his name is Prince. He's so well known. He only goes by his namaka, his first name, Prince. I think his real name, I was looking on the encyclopedia, it's Raja Nelson, something like that. Prince Raja Nelson. And he sure ended the Prince. In any case, he's a Scorpio with Mars and Aries, and his chart, the chart that he was born in, let's see where he was born, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the chart is a little bit distorted when you get up that high. And so his Mars, even though it should fall in the 6th, it falls in the 5th house. So it's working for really both houses, the 6th and the 5th. And the 5th house, of course, is the house of performance, the stage, the theater, creativity. And so you see right away an interest in all those affairs when you see that sports. He was also a big sportsman when he was in high school, and you see that the Mars in Aries wants to win. And so on one hand, it's a nice combination that you have that. And the Mars itself, let's see, the Mars is getting, it almost doesn't, let's see, does it get any aspects from anything? Well, it gets a trine from Uranus. That's one thing it gets. And a sextile from Mercury, which is nice. He gets a sextile, which gives him, to Mercury, gives him his mind is okay. And he gets a trine from Uranus. And it's interesting, his chart, the first thing you see about his chart, when you just take a quick glance at it, is the power of all the outer planets. He's got Neptune on his ascendant. Again, the interest in the theater, the stage, performing, art, things like that, the higher octave of Venus. He's got Pluto, Pluto, you have to remember that when we're talking about Mars, Pluto is the co-ruler of, say Scorpio. Scorpio, the co-ruler, is also Pluto. So you have to take Pluto heavily into account when you're looking at a Scorpio rising chart. And he's got Pluto exactly on his 10th house cusp, the cusp of the career. So, and the career, and if the Pluto is good or bad, depends on his Mars. And he's got the Mars in honor in the house of performing, so that accentuates that. And of course he's got the 10th house on Leo. Leo is again the sign, the natural ruler of the 5th house. So the performing side of him is very, very evident in the chart, and you see all the outer planets strong. And like we said, Uranus makes the tight aspect to his makes an aspect to his ascendant. And so all the three outer planets are very strong. Pluto is on the midheaven, Neptune on the ascendant, and Uranus is also very high in the chart, aspecting the ruling planet. So it gives him a desire for a very outrageous lifestyle, something like that. The person who doesn't want to conform, a person who wants to take his artistic liberties and be able to do whatever he wants, and doesn't really want to settle down, anything like that. It's interesting, he had two very short marriages, probably a lot of affairs, it seems to say. And if you look at his chart, he's got that Venus in the 7th, which we always talk about, Venus in the 7th, even though it's in honor, because it's in the 7th, it makes him too much interested in romance, and it gets him into and he's got it exactly opposite, if I'm not mistaken, Neptune. So he has a lot of faded relationships that bring him more trouble than good, right? There's a lot of deception, a lot of all sorts of things. And it's interesting, he only had one child, and that child died after it was, like a week after it was born. Now if you look at his chart, I'll teach you another very important point to understand, that the 5th house, if you take the 5th house and make that the 1st house, that'll tell you all about the first child. And if you look at the 1st house, if you go 8 houses away to the house of death, that's Scorpio, the ascendant. His 1st house is the 8th house of his child, of his first child. And the ruler of his ascendant, the 8th house of the child, falls exactly on his on the first house cusp of the child. So you see, death comes to his child. Right? That's something that you could have predicted pretty easily. I thank everybody for listening.